BFs, welcome to my channel. This is Botfash. So guys, today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you a simple method in which I use to achieve these two shades on my channel right now. So the one on blue is what I created for a client, while the one I'm putting on is what I'm going to be recreating now. I'm going to be cutting this pattern directly on my fabric, and you can use this to cut on your vintage material. It's a straightforward tutorial. Let's get started. The fabric I have here with me is less than 2 yards. There's 1.5 yard of a leftover fabric I used for something, so I'm going to be using this. For fabric like this with stripes, always keep the stripes vertically, that's from top to bottom. This way it will make you look taller. If you keep the stripes in a horizontal manner, they'll make you look fatter, or better put, rounder. With that being said, I'll be cutting both the front and back shirt piece together, so I'll go ahead and fold it into two. So as we usually do, I'm going to mark my starting point, right? And then I'll cut it off. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'll take my hip circumference, because I told you earlier on this is both the front and the back piece of the dress. So I'm going to take my hip measurement divided by 4. I went ahead to add 4-inch allowance, but you can do more than 4 because the placket allowance is going to be here also. Now this is the front part of the shirt, so the full length of my shirt is going to be 26 inches. So once I'm done achieving this, I will draw a straight line, then I'll go ahead and cut it off just the way you see me do. For the piece I'm going to be using as the back piece, I'll make sure that I have 4-inch extra. So in case you want the full length of your shirt to be 30 inches, the back is going to be 34 inches. You will soon find out why. Now I'm going to come from the top of my back shirt by 3 inches, right? This is going to be overlay. You know how shirts are, there's an overlay to the front piece. Remember, we added 4 extra inches, right? But then I'm marking out 3 inches. I'm just going to also indicate that this is the neckline. I'll bring my front piece, or I'm cut it open. You know the front shirt is open because there's a button in front. Make sure to always pin. We're almost done with this tutorial. The color is all would have taken a lot of time, but I want the color to be very detailed, so I'm going to be creating a tutorial on just the color alone. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and mark out the allowance for my placket. What I'm doing right now is just to fold it to see how far it to go, and at the end of the day I got 3 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark the 3 inches downward, which is what I did. Afterward, I will shift the placket to align with the center back of the shirt. That's the center back that is on fold, just as you see me do. I'll just go ahead and start taking the measurements from the placket line. Before I do that, I went ahead to fold my back neckline, and then I also folded the hem for the back shirt, and now I'll start taking my measurement. Now the first measurements we are going to impute is our shoulder measurement. Mine is 7.5 inch. I'm just going to mark it as you see me do. Because it's a shirt, I'm going to be coming down by 1.5 inch for my shoulder slope. You are safe if you come down between 1.5 inch and 2.5 inches. So besties, initially I used 2.5 inch neck depth and 2.5 inch neck width, but then I noticed that it was too tight, so I had to increase the neck width. Go ahead and do your 3x3 or 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches so that it won't be too fitted on the neck area. Afterward, I'll start taking my vertical measurement, which is my shoulder to my bust point, my shoulder to my under bust point, and my shoulder to my full shirt, or the length of the shirt I want to use. I'll just go ahead and label everything, and then I'm also going to be indicating my armhole line. That is our bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5. Ignore the first chest line, it was a mistake. At this new chest line, I'm going to impute my bust measurement divided by 4. I'll add 1 inch for ease and then 1.5 inch as my sewing allowance. I'm going to impute my exact half length measurement, 1 inch for my ease allowance, and then I'll also add 1.5 inch for my sewing allowance. Then at the full length, I'll mark my hip measurement divided by 4 and then I'll add my sewing allowance. I didn't add ease allowance at my hip region because my shirt didn't get to my hip, like it didn't cover my round hip. But if yours is going to cover your round hip, please add your ease allowance and your sewing allowance. Now I'm just going to mark my shoulder measurement so that I'll get a straight line. The next thing to do is to look for the midpoint of this line. Mine is always 4 inches, and then afterward come in by 0.5 inch, that's half an inch. Use the straight ruler and connect the way you see me do, and then go ahead and use your curve to curve it, just to get this curve around the armhole. So guys, I noticed I still have some extra inch at the hem of my top, but I went ahead to add 1.5 inch to increase the total length of my shirt. From the side back, I'm going to go up by 2.5 inch, which is what I just did. Then I will use my curve ruler and connect it back to the center front. If you watched to this point, please subscribe, like and share with your loved ones. And if you notice, I've already taken out the lower part of the back piece that I folded under. Just before cutting, I'm going to do a rundown of all the measurement I imputed here. Shoulder to bust point 10.5, shoulder to half length 17 inches, shoulder to full length of the top 24 inches, and then from full length of the top I added 1.5 inch extra, which made it 25.5 inches. And then I went up from the full length by 2.5 inches. Now I'll go ahead and cut the outfit just as you see me do. When I get to the armhole, I'm going to pause before taking out the neckline of the back piece. Then I went ahead to extend my front neckline to the placket and I'll cut just as you see me do. Now I went ahead to cut the shoulder. This is the part you'll want to pay attention to because I'm going to show you how to fold the back overlap to overlay towards the front shirt, just the way you see me do. Just go ahead and fold it. If you have a hot steam iron, go ahead and press it so that it will stay. But in the absence of that, watch carefully what I am doing. I'm just going to go ahead and remove the armhole as I just did, and then I'm arranging this overlap so it will lay very well because this is going to be very important as it's going to overlay to the front piece. Now I went ahead to open the back neckline and I'm going to come down by 1.5 inch for the neck depth, that's for the back, while the width is going to be 3.5 inches. I'll go ahead and mark, then use my curve ruler and curve it the way you see me do right now. Once I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and cut it out. And just like that, we are done with the drafting and cutting of our shirt on the fabric without using any pattern paper. Now I'm going to open it up and separate them so you guys could see what we have successfully done. This is the back shirt. Right now I'm just going to place the front piece on the back. I'm also going to be allowing the placket to overlap each other. This is just to show you how it's going to look when we are done sewing. I'll take the front piece alone and iron my ST. I've already cut 1 inch ST, which is what I just ironed to my front placket. I folded it inwards 1 inch and then I placed my hemming gum on the folded part and iron it so everything will stay. I'll do the same to the second part of the front piece and we are good to go. Now I'm placing the back piece shoulder to the front piece shoulder. I'll take it to my sewing machine and sew it with half an inch. And then now this placket, I just ran a stitch so it will stay together because this hemming gum are not usually very strong. What I'll do next is to sew the side seam with the allowance I kept, and I'm going to go ahead to cut my sleeves. I have several tutorials on this channel on how I go about my sleeve. Please check my channel for a detailed sleeve tutorial. The sleeve I'm using here is a cap sleeve. The difference between the cap height and the sleeve is not very far from each other. So right now I'll just go ahead and cut off the sleeve and attach it to my shirt, and then I'll come back and show you guys the final result. This is the final result. I have attached the sleeve to the shirt, and the neckline, as I told you guys earlier on, I expanded it. I want to extend the side slits of my shirt by extra 3 inches. So everything here was about 6 inches from the hem of my shirt. And see how neat our in the inside of our shirt is. I also hemmed it, and in our next tutorial guys, I'll be explaining in details how I got this color. Please, if you watch to this point, subscribe, like and share with your loved ones. See you in the next tutorial.